This is the Troll Patrol, live with Justin FREAKIN.
Welcome to the Troll Patrol, live. It's a freaking Wednesday, a freaking hump day. We're almost through another week. I had a different camera, and that camera kept glitching out, so I switched back to this camera, which makes me look weird. I'm a little electric in this camera. So I sent back the other camera. Very small box. UPS was supposed to pick it up last night. I get a thing. I don't know what I did with it. It tells me that UPS did not pick up my package, so I walk back out. Reasonable to me, it's a small box. They just didn't see it sitting there next to my door. So I go out today to take out the cat shit, throw that in the dumpster, and look for my small box that UPS apparently didn't pick up. Do you know what I could not find outside of my apartment? The small box that holds my camera. Now, it's not a super expensive camera, but I did drop a little bit of money because it was a 4K camera. It had like 8 megapixels. Now, I bought off-brand those things so I could get them on the cheap. But it still cost a little bit of money, which, because I bought the off-brand, that's why it was glitching out on me. You get what you pay for. But I don't want to have to eat the cost of that fucking camera. There's nobody around, like, there's, like, other than the neighbor that's right beside me, which I don't fucking know. There's nobody else around me. Nobody's going to take. But, like, the UPS guy might have took the box and thought it was garbage or something and threw it away. Because it was just an itty bitty box. It was sitting right next to my door. But I mean, I think it said on the thing what he was fucking picking up. Sorry, I used to do a segment on the show called Reefer and a Rant. This was my rant to start this show. And Reefer to go with it. I need to bring that back. I've got a really cool intro I made for it. It'll be okay. I get the new camera tomorrow. We'll see if it glitches out. If I have to eat the cost, it's not that bad, but it's still, I'd rather not. But things could be worse. I could be a representative at the Capitol who is not going to be going to work tomorrow because of a threat from dumb fuck right-wingers. The House cancels a Thursday session after police warn of possible attack on Congress. The Senate plans to remain in session on Thursday to debate amendments to the COVID-19 relief bill, which we will get to shortly. March 4th is a significant date for far-right conspiracy theorists who believe that former President Donald Trump will return to power on that day. Presidents were inaugurated on March 4th until 1933. After which the 20th Amendment to the Constitution moved the date to January 20th. The threat comes nearly 2 months after extremist Trump supporters broke into the Capitol, forcing lawmakers and the vice president to flee moments ahead of an angry mob. The insurrection resulted in the deaths of several people and the arrest of more than 250. I saw somewhere that the QAnon shaman is facing 13 years. Damn. that you're trying to logic with people that didn't come to beliefs logically. Yet Trump will be the 19th president. What's that fucking conspiracy? Like the 1871 conspiracy or whatever? There's only been 18 presidents. Trump is going to be the 19th, sworn in tomorrow.
Do you think we're stupid? You think we're fools?
Yes, Rudy. The federal force charged with protecting Congress is aware of and prepared for any potential threats towards members of Congress or towards the Capitol complex. Sorry, I had to check that. It could have been a PlayStation drop. I usually don't have my ringtone on my phone. PlayStation drop. I'm a fan of cheese popcorn. I eat like white cheddar popcorn all the fucking time. I love that shit. I love sweet and salty popcorn. The kettle corn. Ooh, that's good shit when you're stoned. We've already made significant security upgrades to include establishing a physical structure and increasing manpower to ensure the protection of Congress, the public, and our police officers. I think they're fantastic. Somebody in college introduced me to the sweet and salty corn, the sweet and salty popcorn. Holy fuck. That is one of my stoner snacks of choice. So I would totally stream tomorrow, but I don't think anything is actually going to materialize. The Trump Hotel has jacked up its rates for tomorrow. I'm sure they want to capitalize on this all they can. This is the DC commander of the National Guard, talking about the response to the January 6th attacks on Congress.
After conducting mission analysis to support the district's request, I sent a letter to the Secretary of the Army, Ryan McCarthy, on...
So now, he is talking about receiving the request from Congress to deploy the National Guard.
January 1st, requesting his approval. I received that approval in a letter dated January 5th, granting support to the Metropolitan Police Department with a 320 Guardsmen personnel to include a 40 personnel quick reaction force. The District of Columbia National Guard provides support to the Metropolitan Police Department, the United States Park Police, the United States Secret Service, and other federal and district law enforcement agencies in response to planned rallies, marches, protests, and other large-scale First Amendment activity on a routine basis. A standard component of such support is the stand-up of an off-site quick reaction force.
Any opportunity to grift.
With civil disturbance response equipment, helmets, shields, batons, etc. They are postured to quickly respond to an urgent and immediate need for assistance by civil authorities. The Secretary of the Army's January 5th letter to me withheld that authority for me to employ a quick reaction force. Additionally, the Secretary of the Army...
The Secretary of the Army, a Trump appointee, withheld that authority from him.
January 5th letter to me withheld that authority for me to employ a quick reaction force. Additionally, the Secretary of the Army's memorandum to me required that a concept of operation be submitted to him before the employment of a quick reaction force. I found that requirement to be unusual, as was the requirement to seek approval to move.
So he had to submit a whole report before he could deploy the quick action team.
Guardsmen supporting the Metropolitan Police Department to move from one traffic control point to another.
That tells you all you need to know. Trump was in on it. NPR had a piece earlier today. It was called "The January 6th Riot Could Have Brought Lawmakers Together. It Did the Opposite." They will never understand they're a bunch of suckers. With the Dr. Seuss thing, with the Mr. Potato Head thing, these dumb fuck right-wingers don't understand they're the marks. I wish they could be embarrassed. I wish they could feel shame. Unfortunately, they cannot. When Congress reconvened the night of January 6th to finish certifying the Electoral College results, Representative Rodney Davis huddled with top Democrats on the House floor. I was on the dais with Speaker Nancy Pelosi and the Speaker and I, and also Zoe Lofgren, had a conversation about a bipartisan approach and a bipartisan commission, or a bicameral commission, to move things forward to find out what went wrong. Unfortunately, that bipartisan discussion didn't last too long. It did kind of look in the couple of days after the attack that the Republicans were going to come around and join us in the real world. That certainly did not last. Davis is Lofgren's GOP counterpart on the House Administration Committee. He was one of the first lawmakers to introduce legislation to establish a commission to investigate the January 6th attack, modeled after the successful bipartisan commission Congress enacted to investigate the terrorist attacks on September 11th. Davis voted to certify the election results on January 6th, but 139 of his House GOP colleagues backed objections. Last week, Representative Sean Casten, a Democrat of Illinois, broke with tradition and forced a symbolic protest vote on a bill to rename a post office. One of the most mundane activities in Congress, because it was sponsored by Representative Trent Kelly, a Republican from Mississippi, who voted to object to the electoral counts in Arizona and Pennsylvania. In the nearly 2 months since the attack, cross-party tensions in Congress have intensified in floor debate, in committee hearings, and in personal relationships. They're serving with people that are traitors. At an oversight committee hearing last week on the Postal Service, Rep. Jerry Conley, a Democrat of Virginia, snapped at Representative Jim Jordan, a Republican from Ohio, one of former President Donald Trump's most vocal allies in the House, after Jordan accused Democrats of politicizing the Postal Service to hurt Trump in the election. Talk about politicizing the Postal Service. We all know the attacks that the Trump administration launched on the Postal Service during the election. I wish these people could feel shame. Jim Jordan feels no shame. I don't know how he is able to step out of his fucking house. I don't know how he has the nerve to show his fucking face in public. Yet we still keep hearing about stupid shit dumbass Jim Jordan said. Jim Jordan, who covered up sexual abuse at Ohio State University. Where are the QAnon fucks? Democrats have felt so threatened by Republicans that they installed metal detectors for lawmakers to enter the House chamber, which Representative Lauren Boebert, a Republican from Colorado, called a political stunt. Several Democrats have also alleged, without evidence, that some Republican lawmakers may have aided Capitol rioters. I don't know that they don't have evidence. Davis says the metal detectors and those kinds of allegations have likewise eroded trust among Republicans towards Democrats. He said, it's very frustrating when you have colleagues without any evidence just throw out wild conspiracy accusations. This is a Republican accusing Democrats of throwing out wild conspiracy accusations. To finish his quote, and frankly, there's got to be some accountability on their behalf to provide that evidence or apologize. How many things could you apply that statement to? That was a Republican talking about Democrats. All of this could be examined by an outside commission, but party leaders have so far been deadlocked over the makeup of the commission. Republicans want an even 5-5 partisan split like the 9/11 Commission, while Democrats suggested a partisan 7-4 advantage. They also can't agree on the scope of the investigation. Democrats are skeptical of Republicans' willingness to examine Trump's role in the events of January 6th, while Republicans think Democrats want to control an investigation that could expose security failures on their watch. Meanwhile, the other day I said 50-50 chance Trump sees the inside of a jail cell. Maybe, just maybe, that number keeps inching a little higher. Trump is facing probes from five
elected investigators from
independently
both
elected investigators.
New York to Washington, D.C. to Georgia, all turning their attention to Donald Trump.
And this is a fishing expedition.
The former president's legal woes mounting as investigators dig into everything from his efforts to influence the election to his finances.
It's not unusual for us to investigate a business in Manhattan.
And the probes are picking up. New York prosecutors now have Trump's federal tax returns, and subpoenas could start coming in Georgia as soon as this week. In New York, Manhattan District Attorney Cy Vance tweeting, "The work continues," after winning a Supreme Court fight to access a trove of Trump's financial records. Vance beefing up his office with a prosecutor whose expertise is complex financial cases. After 2 years investigating Trump, Vance is set to leave office in 10 months, setting a clock, some say, if he plans to bring charges.
New Yorkers, we can spot a con man.
Then there's Letitia James, the New York Attorney General who ran on taking on Trump.
Tonight, we celebrate. And
Letitia James is also going to be taking on Andrew Cuomo.
we sue the hell out of them.
Her investigation
Who we're going
into
to be
Trump's
talking
business
about
and
here in
personal
just a little
finances
bit.
is plowing ahead, with a judge recently ordering Trump's tax firm to turn over documents.
The fact that he is now a private citizen is really of no moment. We will continue our investigation.
Over in Georgia, newly elected Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis made a national splash when she fired off letters in February to Georgia officials, asking them to preserve documents related to attempts to influence the election.
Should we find that anyone...
Let's hope Lindsey Graham gets caught up in that as well.
After Trump's infamous phone call to Georgia's Secretary of State,
all I want to do is this. I just want to find 11,780 votes.
Willis is investigating potential crimes such as solicitation of election fraud and racketeering. Also investigating that call, Georgia Republican Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger's office.
He's an enemy of the...
And I want to know how many other calls like that exist. Not just from Trump, from Giuliani, from Lindsey Graham, threatening people, other officials, over votes. That's just the one that we know about. And that was because Raffensperger had the beef. Nevada, Pennsylvania, Arizona, Michigan, Wisconsin. Where all did they try to apply pressure? And we won't know about it because if they're Republican officials, I'm sure they didn't record it. They're not going to come out and say it because they don't want to fucking be hung. Yeah, definitely in Wisconsin. A fun game which would be shorter, the time to bring all charges. Ooh. The only way he's getting a full psych evaluation is if a court orders it, right? no, we're all curious the results, but nobody in Trump world is going to want him to have a psych evaluation. Still 50-50 whether they bring charges or not. But it looks like we got 5 different shots. If we've got 5 different 50-50 shots, then that's a safe bet that there's going to be charges.
The people, the Secretary of State.
Though he voted for Trump, Raffensperger came under fire from Trump and state Republican officials for refusing to overturn the election in the former president's favor.
I never believed it was appropriate to speak to the president. I guess he had his staff push us, and they wanted to call.
And in Washington, D.C. Attorney General Karl Racine is taking a look at the former president for whipping up the violent mob that stormed the Capitol January 6th.
We fight. We
That's
fight
been
like
the investigation
hell.
that's been the quietest.
His comments were absolutely reckless, whether they rise to the level of incitement.
You say not a loyal enough stooge, but shit, he was still
Now, a spokesman for the president
making excuses for Trump.
This story, but in the past,
Talking about, we
the
wish he had
president
won
said
the
these
election
investigations
after
are
he had been
politically motivated,
threatened.
And his team has insisted there was nothing wrong with that phone call he made in Georgia.
It was a perfect phone call.
I want to address the...
Oh, no. We're going to get to you here in a little bit. But first, the Democrats are a letdown, because of course they are. Nearly 17 million fewer Americans will get new stimulus checks under a Senate revision. President Joe Biden and Senate Democrats have reportedly reached an agreement that will reduce eligibility for the next round of stimulus checks sent out as part of the $1.9 trillion pandemic relief bill that's expected to be considered by the Senate this week. Who's doing your job? What were we just talking about? I'm certainly not doing patrolling the trolls. Oh. No, I am not patrolling the trolls. You have the title of the show wrong, sir. No, I am a patrol of trolls. So we're trolls and we're reporting for duty. But thank you for having your eyes on me. Be sure to follow the channel or subscribe if you're on the YouTubes. Whatever the fuck you can do if you're on Facebook, you know. I do not think I am doing the job of the state, my friend. I'm dishing out some trolls to everybody. While Americans who qualified for full stimulus payments in the last 2 rounds will still be eligible for the full $1,400 payment. Under the change, the checks will phase out faster and at lower income levels under the new structure. This is according to the Washington Post, which cited an unnamed Democratic source. No. They are going to lower the cap a little bit and phase it down faster. So I think the cap was 120 grand before. The cap is now like 80 grand. Fuck the Fed. Here's how to know if you'll qualify, and if so, how much to expect under the new proposed version of the bill. Individuals earning less than 75 grand annually and couples filing jointly who earn less than 150 grand will still receive the full $1,400 payment under the new terms agreed upon, as well as $1,400 for each dependent. I think I told somebody it was $2,000. $1,400 for each dependent. Under the agreement reached between Senate Democratic leaders and President Biden, the benefit would disappear for individuals earning more than 80 grand and couples earning more than 160 grand. The House version of the stimulus bill had set the income caps at 200 grand for couples and 100 grand for individuals. That sounds more reasonable. Now, I was hopeful that the administration was not going to push for this means testing. Republicans are pushing for the stimulus bill to be read in its entirety. Hey, FBI, get them to get off my ass about my ad blocker. Senate Republicans are planning to force a reading of the 600-page stimulus bill in order to delay you getting your $1,400 check. Because that's the way the Republicans play ball. Senator Ron Johnson said Wednesday he plans to force the lengthy $1.9 trillion coronavirus relief bill set to come before the Senate to be read aloud. Johnson said this in an interview with News Talk 1130, a local station in Wisconsin. Johnson said he wants to ensure every member of the Senate has time to read the bill and highlight that this is not relief and that it's a Democratic boondoggle. The mainstream media will take a look at this as well, he said. The bill, which was 592 pages long when it passed the House last month, would take 10 hours to read, on top of the 20 hours already allotted for debate on Thursday. Senator Ben Cardin, a Democrat, dismissed the efficacy of Johnson's tactic, stating it just delays things a day, and added he doesn't think there's going to be any problem with that. So we'll see. Republicans reading. They're just wanting to force somebody else to read to them. Come on. Republicans don't know how to read. I don't know if you have been with us, Curiouser, when we're watching like floor votes and shit. The Republicans do everything they can to delay. So they'll do a voice vote, right? And the Democrats will be like, the ayes have it. And they know they have it because it's the Democrats. They're in the majority. The Republicans will force them to do the vote count. Will they even be in the fucking chamber for it? He's talking about how it's going to have a time to shine a spotlight on things. None of them are even going to be in the fucking chamber. They're full of shit. Joe Biden responded to Governor Greg Abbott of Texas, stating that Texas is going to be 100% open starting next week.
With cancer and cancer research. And the Vice President and I are of the view that we can make significant strides in fighting cancer and Alzheimer's and other diseases if we take a slightly different approach. And what I want to talk to them about today is how we go about taking advantage
That's a
of the work they've
pretty
done
color blue.
To get us where we are today, because
or maybe a slight purple
real breakthroughs across the board
tie that
on cancer. And
President Biden has
that's
on.
what we're going to talk about. And probably to all of you, like all of us, cancer is personal for almost everybody. It's probably the one word that is the most frightening word in the English language to people. When they hear that C word, cancer, It is just devastating. And I always ask when I talk about cancer, I ask the audience to raise their hand if any of them were suffering from cancer as I spoke, and or they lost someone. And virtually 70% of every audience, whether or not it's 4,000 people or 400 people. And a lot of folks in this room have, like many of you, maybe, have been victims of cancer and overcome it. But there's so much hope that's what I want to talk about with these folks, about what we do from a legislative and substantive point of view to make the kind of inroads I think.
So he was asked about Texas. No, I don't think he was asked about Texas, but he's going to be asked about Texas here just a second.
I'm optimistic we're going to get something done here.
Mr. President, U.S. troops were targeted with rocket attacks. How do you respond?
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
We are following that through right now. Thank God no one was killed by the rocket. One individual, a contractor, died of a heart attack.
I'm sure they're going to come up with a way to escalate things in the Middle East.
Who's responsible, and we'll make judgments from that point. Okay? Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
I didn't do the question.
Message to Texas and Mississippi. Texas and Mississippi.
Texas, I think it's a big mistake. Look, I hope everybody's realized by now, these masks make a difference. We are on the cusp of being able to fundamentally change the nature of this disease because of the way in which we're able to get vaccines in people's arms. We've been able to move that all the way up to the end of May to have enough for every American, to get every adult American to get a shot. And the last thing we need is the Neanderthal thinking that in the meantime everything's fine. Take off your mask, forget it. It still matters. I carry a card with me. I don't have it. I put it on my desk. As of yesterday, we had lost 511,874 Americans. We're going to lose thousands more. This will not occur. We'll not have everybody vaccinated until sometime in the summer. We have the vaccine to do it. Getting a shot in someone's arm and getting a second shot, you're going to take time. And it's critical that they follow the science. Wash your hands, hot water, do it frequently, wear a mask, and stay socially distanced. And I know you all know that. I wish the heck some of our elected officials knew it. So thank you very much.
Taking a shot at some dumbass Republicans. Neanderthal thinking. He says about Texas deciding to rush their opening.
A lot of businesses have had to close during the pandemic, while others are barely getting by. Matt Doherty is getting reaction from some business owners tonight.
So let's see these reactions.
For nearly every business owner, but it's been especially hard for those businesses which rely on hand-to-hand contact with their customers.
You gotta love the dude in his apartment doing his stand-up because he doesn't want to be out around people. This is the shot normally the reporter would be like at a, they're doing a fucking restaurant story. He would be like at the restaurant with people behind him and shit with the microphone. But Texas is ready to open up. And the reporter is like, no. I'm going to do my stand-up from in my apartment.
At Studio Privé Salon in Sugar Land, the sign on the door will soon be removed.
We were shut down for about 2 months, so that was hard financially, not knowing the future.
Theoni Kritikakis says they're excited to soon be opening to full capacity once again. It's been a really tough year. The restaurant below the salon had to close for good. Next week, things will look a lot different. No longer will there be limits on the number of stylists who may operate, and nobody will be required to wear a mask. The mask issue has been a tough one at the salon.
It has been some drama, for sure. Some clients refusing
Why?
to come if they have to wear a mask, and then you have another client that is very uncomfortable when.
If I have a dumb fuck right-winger watching me right now, if I have maskless Moses, this is what I'm going to say to him next week or whenever I go back on his Man Up Monday. We spit when we talk. Something like 70% of the germs that we spread to each other comes from the spittle that we expel from our mouths. This is a fact. Easy to understand. You spit when you talk. That's what the mask stops. It stops you from spitting fucking everywhere. Simple. There's no conspiracy. It's not tyranny. It's not the government preparing you for some fucking great reset or whatever fucking stupid conspiracy you believe in. It stops you from spitting everywhere.
Someone takes off their mask.
It could be just like the old days next week, where every station could be full and clients could be waiting in chairs for their appointments. Theoni says if the customer comes in wearing a mask,
it won't be that way for long.
But it'll ultimately be up to the stylist and the customer themselves. At Miller's Cafe, the hamburger place that wouldn't serve customers without masks says they're now going to serve everyone. They say employees will still need to wear masks, and they'll also be keeping some of the other procedures too.
We want our customers to feel safe, so of course we're going to keep the tables at a distance. We're going to try to...
We're going to keep hand sanitizer.
Matt Doherty, KHOU 11 News.
So that is the local news report from Texas about opening up. Meanwhile, a national former news anchor, political commentator, is being dragged for being incredibly insensitive. Keith Olbermann is facing a severe backlash after asking why vaccinations are being wasted on the people in Texas. The TV personality made the comments after Governor Greg Abbott announced an executive order to lift mask mandates. Olbermann said, "Why are we wasting vaccinations on Texas if Texas has decided to join the side of the virus?" More than 5,000 people reshared his tweet with a comment, most delivering scathing criticism of the remark. David Wiseman saying, Keith, this is a wrong take, man. Take it from a former Republican. They vote crappy leadership for different reasons. They are still human beings. They have families, children. I get it. You're angry. But this is not the right message. Well, it's kind of like the whole, being derogatory towards the South. There are hard leftists in the South. Jeff from Georgia calls into the Majority Report. I believe his channel's called Post Revolution on Twitch. Me in Alabama. There are leftists here. It's not the whole South. You can't just fucking toss it all out. And as Georgia proved, there's a whole disenfranchised electorate that when activated can actually swing elections. I'm not saying we're in danger of that happening in Alabama, but we did have a senator that was a Democrat for a couple of years. Now, while the restaurants are celebrating the reopening and salons are saying they're going to start taking the masks off, the COVID-19 variant in Brazil overwhelms local hospitals and hits younger patients. Researchers and doctors are sounding the alarm over a new, more aggressive coronavirus strain from the Amazon area of Brazil, which they believe is responsible for a recent rise in deaths, as well as infections in younger people. Brazil's daily death toll from the disease rose to its highest level yet this week, pushing the country's total number of COVID-19 fatalities past 250,000. Neighbor Peru is also struggling to curb a second wave of infections. I mean, when we get another wave, it's going to be like our fucking fourth wave. The new variant, known as P.1, is 1.4 to 2.2 times more contagious than versions of the virus previously found in Brazil, and 25 to 61% more capable of reinfecting people who had been infected by an earlier strain. With mass vaccination a long way off across the region, countries such as Brazil risk becoming a breeding ground for potent versions of the virus that could render current COVID-19 vaccines less effective. Oof. So, that's one of the reasons why health officials are saying that you need to get the vaccine when you're eligible, no matter what. Even if, you feel another cohort should get it first. Public health experts are clear there is no need to overthink eligibility guidelines. If you can get the COVID vaccine, do it. While distribution appears disorganized and messy on its face, eligibility standards were meticulously designed by the CDC's advisory committee. Those standards, plus varying availability across cities and states, mean that elderly folks in some places are now watching young, seemingly healthy folks in others get vaccinated well before they do, which feels wrong given everything we know about who was most severely affected by the virus. It has led to a certain amount of vigilant vaccine policing and concern that younger or relatively healthier people are stealing vaccine doses from more eligible folks. That was like the fucking fourth time they used folks in that article. Vice, I don't like the word folks, and I said it like 3 or 4 different times. Vice asked some epidemiologists about these moral conundrums. Now, conundrums is a fun word. But the epidemiologists were unambiguously clear. From a public health perspective, all the concern trolling is unnecessary. If you can get the vaccine, you should absolutely get the vaccine. For some, that could mean watching young folks. There's folks again. That could mean watching young people in the next country over get the jab well before their grandparents or parents are able to. There's no justification for the argument that one person getting a vaccine when they're able is stealing a vaccine from another, perhaps more eligible person. The CDC knew there would be visible trade-offs in any distribution plan. They spent so much time really weighing the trade-offs. I think they've done that so that each individual doesn't need to try and second guess anything. Even in the few outlying instances in which people who don't meet local eligibility criteria are able to get an end of the day imminently expiring dose, from a public health perspective, it is better for that dose to go in an arm than for that dose to go down the drain. Makes total sense. Apparently there are waiting lists in municipalities that you can get on for like expiring vaccines. As I understand it, some people sign up for multiple vaccines, will go and get one. They still have an appointment to go get another one. That vaccine will go to waste. So if you are interested in getting the vaccine, check with your local health department. You may be able to get like the call like, hey, come by the end of the day. We'll get your dose in your arm. So now, if you have been a viewer of this show for any amount of time, you will know there's an issue that I've been very passionate about. Like when the whole Beijing Biden shit started happening, when people started calling Joe Biden a sellout to China, that really pissed me off because there is no evidence that Joe Biden has had any business dealings with China. However, the transportation secretary in the Trump administration did have business dealings with China. And her name is Elaine Chao. And she is married to one Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell. Elaine Chao's family owns a rather large shipping company which does a tremendous amount of business with China. The Justice Department under the Trump administration declined to open a criminal investigation into the actions of Miss Chao when she was Transportation Secretary. Because, duh, of course they did, and duh, of course she was breaking the law. I screamed about it multiple times, so thank God, something is finally going to be done about it. Yes, she resigned. She resigned after the riots on January the 6th because she didn't want to be put in a position where she would have to use the 25th Amendment. Because she was a cabinet official, and they needed cabinet officials to step up and do the right thing and invoke the 25th Amendment to take Trump out of office. But she, being a coward like all fucking Republicans are, resigned. Not because of any fucking moral high ground, no, because she didn't want to do the right thing. This fucking criminal. While serving as Transportation Secretary during the Trump administration, Elaine Chao repeatedly used her office staff to help family members who run a shipping business with extensive ties to China. This is according to a report released today by the Transportation Department's Inspector General. The matter has been referred to the Justice Department. No, the matter was referred to the Justice Department in December for a possible criminal investigation. But in the weeks before the end of the Trump administration, 2 Justice Department divisions declined to do so. Miss Chao, the wife of Senator Mitch McConnell of Kentucky, announced her resignation on January the 7th. The investigation of Miss Chao came after a 2019 report in the New York Times that detailed her interactions with her family while serving as Transportation Secretary, including a trip she had planned to take to China in 2017 with her father and her sister. The IG's report confirmed that the planning for the trip, which was canceled, raised ethics concerns among other government officials. Ms. Chao was the top Trump administration official overseeing the American shipping industry, which is in steep decline and is being battered by Chinese competitors. So there you have it. Hopefully, her and McConnell both will see the inside of a jail cell. But there's no justice in this world, so that's not going. Just like Andrew Cuomo probably won't see the inside of a jail cell. And unfortunately, he's decided that he is going to stick around for a little while.
Governor, I have actually 2 questions. First of all, I wonder if, given the distractions of these 2 investigations, especially the one involving sexual harassment, you feel that you might want to step aside or that you should.
Especially the one involving sexual harassment, the 3 allegations now that he's facing. It's weird that a reporter would say that, especially not the deaths that you might have caused and cover it up. No. Especially given the sexual harassment allegation.
Should step aside, especially in negotiating the budget.
He's an asshole, so I can't wait to see his response to this.
Has ever had to deal with. And my second question has to do with the pictures that have surfaced of you touching the face of Anna Ruck. The reason I'm asking the question is that I've also seen circulated pictures of you touching the faces of people all over the state, young and old, whatever, and I wonder what you make of
He's a
those
face
pictures.
toucher.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Marcia. Let me take both questions. First, you're right about the state budget. It is critically important. The state budget is going to turn the page to the rebuild.
Did she say anything about the budget? I don't even remember that.
Working very hard to get funding from Washington to fill the gap. And that has been going well. We have to see what we actually get. But we then have tremendous financial needs on top of that. People have to pay their rent, they need food, et cetera. You also have New York City, which is in a very precarious situation. It's teetering, to use a word. Crime is way up. Homelessness is way up. Many people have left New York City.
Oh, he's taking shots at de Blasio. De Blasio called on him to resign earlier in the week.
We have to get New York City functional again and safe again and viable again, and we have to do that.
Well, one way to keep New York City safe is to make sure Andrew Cuomo
basically in June, I guess, something
doesn't show his face there.
Basically in June, and that work has to start right away. So yes, the budget is very important. Having said
Should
that,
you step aside though and let somebody else handle it?
yeah. Having said that,
He should.
I'm going to cooperate with the Attorney General's investigation and do the budget. Remember, we did a budget last year in the spring in the heat of COVID, where it was the most intense period of my life, of this government's life, of this state's life. And we did both, and we'll do both here. On the pictures, Marcia,
We hadn't found out you were a criminal at that time.
the opinion of and feelings of Ms. Ruhr. And you are right. You can find hundreds of pictures of me making the same gesture with hundreds of people, women, men, children, etc.
Farm animals.
You can go find hundreds of pictures of me kissing people, men, women. It is my usual and customary way.
You left off children there.
You know that because you've watched me for, let's just say, more years.
Yes, we all know who you are.
It was my father's way of greeting people. You're the governor of the state. You want people to feel comfortable. You want to reach out to them. I do it. I kiss and hug legislators.
He's a face toucher.
At an event in Queens the other day. Hugged the pastors and the assembly members who were there. So that is my way to do that. However, what I also understand is it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter my intent. What it matters is if anybody was offended by it. And
well, then why are you talking about your intent then?
No offense, but if they were offended by it, then it was wrong. And if they were offended by it, I apologize. And if they were hurt by it, I apologize. And if they felt pain from it, I apologize. I apologize. I did not intend it.
If they had some heartburn, I apologize. If they got the squirts, I apologize. If it gave you a yeast infection, I apologize. Anyway, continue, Governor.
I didn't mean it that way, but if that's how they felt, that's all that matters, and I apologize. Next question, operator.
It's if you've ever seen that episode of South Park where they're talking about BP and the oil spill. Sorry. There's like a Cuomo spot here. I apologize. I apologize. I apologize.
Governor, your next question comes from Dave Evans from WABC. Dave, your line is now open. Please unmute your microphone.
Hey, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, Dave.
Governor, I just wanted to ask you, with all these calls in the last couple of days calling for your resignation from some Democrats, certainly not all Democrats, but some Democrats.
Why is it not all Democrats?
Since you've been gone for about a week, is this your way of saying, I'm certainly not resigning?
Yeah. Dave, look, some politicians will always play politics.
I want this motherfucker gone. I don't even live in New York.
I don't think
he just annoys the shit out of me.
I wasn't elected by politicians. I was elected by the people of the state of New York. I'm not going to resign. I work for the people of the state of New York. They elected me, and I'm going to serve the people of the state of New York.
Fucking creepy Cuomo.
Full plate. We have COVID. We have recovery. We have rebuilding. We have a teetering New York City. We have a terrible financial picture. We have to do vaccines.
And I'm telling you, he is only throwing out the jabs at New York City
do the
over
job.
Bill de Blasio calling for him to resign. I think there's been a lot of tension between those two for a while, but especially after he called on Cuomo to resign earlier in the week. Marjorie Taylor Greene was on the floor of the House earlier today. Apparently got herself into a little trouble.
Purpose as the gentlewoman from Georgia.
Now, first of all, this past Saturday on Saturday Night Live, they had Cecily Strong playing Marjorie Taylor Greene. And she comes out and says something to the effect of, this is during the Weekend Update segment, that like God made women milk lemonade, round the back fudge is made, and men are hairy chest like King Kong, cracking the butt, 2 balls and a dong. And I swear, I fell out of my fucking chair. She is a treasure. I am amazed she's not a bigger star than what she is. Definitely looking forward to more impressions of Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Recognition.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to inform the Democrats that the radical path you are taking is going to cause you to lose in the next elections. Passing a bill of $1.9 trillion.
They're gaveling her down.
From Georgia,
Mr. Speaker, I ask to address for 1 minute.
Without objection, the gentleman from Georgia is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today to inform Democrats the radical path you're taking will cause you to lose.
If you can't see what her mask says, it says this mask is as useless as Joe Biden. Which is weird because Joe Biden can actually, do things. He has some power, unlike Marjorie Taylor Greene, who has no committee assignment, can't propose legislation, and is literally useless.
Lose in 2022. The American people are shocked at what you're doing and running through this House of Representatives. Passing a bill of $1.9 trillion that spends less than 9% on COVID relief is shameful. Passing the Unequality Act, which destroys women's rights,
Don't you have a tantric sex guru to be having a rendezvous with right now, ma'am? Not that I am kink shaming in any way, shape, or form. Put that shit on OnlyFans and I will subscribe to it, ma'am.
Religious freedoms puts men in our little girls' bathrooms, locker rooms, and sports teams is unforgivable. Trying to pass what I call the Democrats' hate police bill, H.R. 1280, that puts
the hate police bill.
It allows police to be targets.
She's reading off of her fucking phone. Like a first-time stand-up comedian takes their phone on stage and is reading their notes off of their phone.
Also gets rid of qualified immunity, opening them up to be sued every time a criminal is offended and has their feelings.
That reminds me of the Back to the Future, and they hit him with the club over the head. The easy way.
Is reckless and dangerous for our police. And because of H.R. 1, which is a federalization of our elections, I also today, Mr. Speaker, make a motion to adjourn so Democrats can think a little bit harder.
She makes a motion to adjourn, like,
A reminder to make the
every time she speaks.
Mr. Speaker, I make a motion to adjourn.
The question is on the motion to adjourn. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. The noes have it.
Speaker, ask for a roll call vote.
Pursuant to Section 3S of House...
Just because she has it on her mask.
Order, members will record their votes by electronic device.
Now, I do believe we get a... I thought they did more than that to her. I thought they gave her a little speech, but nope. Okay, so remember the whole CPAC Nazi stage? Apparently we have new revelations. I'm a fair guy. I don't want to report on something called a Nazi stage for multiple days, not give it a fair shake. So here we have the update. Nazi CPAC stage was actually designed by a liberal firm that works with MSNBC. According to, this is from Raw Story. After speculation turned into a full-blown conspiracy theory, claimed the stage at the concert, I don't think it was a conspiracy theory, was secretly designed to look like an obscure Nazi symbol. The design company that was hired to set up the stage has spoken out, saying the stage resemblance to the Odal rune, which adorned the uniforms of some SS officers during World War II, was purely a coincidence. Speaking to The Forward Design Foundry, a stage design firm based in Hyattsville, Maryland, that it had no idea that the design resembled any symbol, nor were there any intention to create something that did. Despite the company's explanation, the organizers of CPAC said they would not hire the company to do any work in the future due to the unwelcome distraction. Design Foundry worked on many events in DC for companies like MSNBC and Target. He also pointed out that the company oversaw the design for the Biden Cancer Summit in 2018. Design Foundry told The Forward that the American Conservative Union approved the design, which was intended to provide the best use of space given the constraints of the ballroom and social distancing requirements. The terms of the contract signed with Design Foundry said that the ACU had no rights to change the design or dismantle the stage once it was finalized. Director of Communications for the ACU and CPAC told The Forward that the company provided several options for us to choose from, and what we ended up with was the most workable of the options they submitted. In a statement, Design Foundry said it was saddened and horrified at the accusations that this was a deliberate act. Design Foundry denounces all hate, speech, and acts of racism, prejudice, and bigotry and all. I don't know. What do you guys think? I mean, I don't doubt that the company presented them with multiple designs. It's a little too on the nose. That's a weird design to not do on purpose. Trying to cast a rune spell. I mean, normally I would give them the benefit of the doubt and say no, they didn't do it on purpose, but I know for a fact that right-wingers love trolling the left and trying to trigger them and getting them upset about things. Yeah, I'm sorry I said trolling. You make a good point. Maybe CPAC was being controlled with the design. Well, if they gave them multiple options, I don't know. I don't know. What do you guys think? Like, how do you end up with this? But just knowing that right-wingers have a habit. But did somebody choose this because, like, oh, we wanna inflame the libs? Now that's I would not rule out the possibility that all these fucks are lying, just to protect their brand image. But now I know for a fact that conservatives like to do things to infuriate liberals because conservatives fucking come right out and say it. Tim Allen says he kind of liked it when President Trump made people angry. He was trending on Twitter on Wednesday morning, which probably means one of two things. Either he was announcing a home improvement reboot or he was talking politics again. It was politics. He appeared on the What the Fuck WTF with Mark Maron. Allen dropped a comment about former President Donald Trump that drew quite a buzz on social media while discussing his views about being a fiscal conservative and disliking the we culture. What does that mean? Of being told we should do this, we should do that. Collectivism? Allen said, once I realized that the last president pissed people off, I kind of liked that. So it was fun to just not to say anything. Didn't join in the lynching crowd. I don't know, when you've got a pedophile president, maybe you should join in the lynching crowd. Marin replied, you got a kick out of his belligerent anger. I contemplated listening to that episode mainly because I wanted to see if Marin pressed him on it. Pressed him on being a conservative. I assume they came up in the clubs together in the 80s and they're good friends, and that Marin is going to be like nice to him. So that's why I had not listened yet. So let me ask you guys a question. If someone asked you to go and smoke a joint and get high and then let cops examine you, would you do it? Apparently people volunteered to do exactly that.
Lining up and then approaching police.
Organizers say there's really something to learn for people on both sides of this training. 41 Action News reporter.
Sounds fucking stupid, doesn't it?
These volunteers smoked marijuana. They may or may not be high, but are they?
You know who needs to smoke
That's
some
what
marijuana?
these police officers are trying to find out. This isn't some weed bust. This is the Green Lab medical marijuana training for law enforcement, put on by Extracted LLC and sponsors in the marijuana industry.
We want officers to understand the difference between someone who's used the cannabis product.
It's a weed bust.
Then on the flip side of that, we want the qualified patient volunteers to understand at what point may they be considered impaired. That way they don't get behind the wheel of a vehicle and drive.
This day-long training has never been done before in Missouri. The group toured from the Earth Dispensary, where they learned about different strains and potency. They headed to OXG, a cultivation facility, where they got to see
now, everybody is different. Most people should not smoke pot and drive, but you do not want me to drive if I've not smoked
or you
pot.
have some marijuana, that's a criminal charge, hook them up, take them to jail. You know, now it's more so, now we have to go through the process of understanding every aspect of it.
Meanwhile, 7 certified Missouri medical marijuana patients gathered off-site to prepare the officers for the next phase. Trained staff took their vitals. Then the volunteers got the green light to light up. They used legally purchased marijuana and pipes. The volunteers were driven back to the conference center where they underwent
the green
sobriety
light
tests. Your body metabolizes THC differently than, say, alcohol, so it's inaccurate to measure THC impairment with a number like officers do with alcohol DUIs.
Just to have that interaction where someone used a cannabis product and it's not illegal is probably going to be the biggest hurdle to overcome. But once that happens, we kind of open our eyes.
I think the more training that we get and the more exposure we get and have a better relationship with the medical cannabis profession here in Kansas City right now, I think the better we can work together to keep our roads safer.
Sarah Plake, 41 Action News.
I am hoping that will be the push. Like we've got to get over the hump with a few things with the coronavirus and everything. Hopefully, national legalization, which, I mean, the Biden administration has the power to basically decriminalize it and stop enforcement. I don't know if they're going to want to do that just yet. That's something I would look for, like maybe the fall. Because, I mean, you can imagine what the right-wingers are going to do. Oh, we've got a pandemic going on. They're wanting to legalize weed. Blah, 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 blah. All right, let's bring this baby on home. You know I love animal stories. And this is a cockfighting story with a happy ending. Rooster fitted with knife for cockfighting. What the hell? I clicked on something. Rooster, fitted with knife for cockfighting, kills its owner by slashing his groin as it tries to escape. Bird had a blade strapped to his leg, ready to take on an opponent in a vicious battle. But he made a bid to escape, slashing open his owner's groin in the process. This happened in India. His owner was cut and rushed to the hospital in rural Telangana state, but died of blood loss before he arrived. Yeah, cockfighting is horrendous, so it's not very often you do a cockfighting story with a happy ending. The man's death has sparked a manhunt for the organizers of the illegal competition at which another 15 people were participating. Cockfights are banned but still common in rural areas, particularly around the Hindu festival of Sankranti. Specially bred roosters have 3-inch knives or blades tethered to their legs, and punters bet on who will win the gruesome fight. There's a pun there, hon. I'm sorry, did I miss something? My apologies. My nose itches. I've got like cat hair in it. Thousands of roosters die each year in the battles, which, despite the efforts of animal rights groups, attract large crowds. So, glad a motherfucking rooster was able to take some revenge on his owner. That's my kind of animal story. Alright, that's gonna do it for me. If you are watching on Twitch, I'm gonna send you over to SJW9000. We haven't visited him this week. If not, you go ahead, light one up, tip one back. It's all right to have a little fun before you hit the sack. I am Justin Freakin. We will see you tomorrow night on the Troll Patrol live.